Abraham was a prince. Genesis 49:10, the scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor the lawgiver from between his feet. A scepter is a rod that a king has that symbolizes his authority. When he waves a scepter, his word goes. And the word, it says, nor a lawgiver from between his feet until Shiloh come, and unto him shall the gathering of the people be. Shiloh is an epithet of the Messiah. So the scepter, it's all about authority. The authority is not going to depart out of Judah. And of course we know that Jesus Christ is the Lion of the tribe of Judah. So the scepter does not depart from Judah. It stays with Judah forever. In Numbers 24:19 it says, out of Jacob shall come he that shall have dominion. So Jesus Christ is going to come from Israel, and he's going to have dominion. He's going to be the one that's the boss. He's going to be the king. He's going to be in charge. See here in Deuteronomy 33 verse 4 and 5 that Moses was called king in Jeshurun. This is the question I like to ask people to kind of trick them up. It's a trick question. I say, who's the first king over the Israelites, over the 12 tribes? And invariably almost everybody says Saul, King Saul. And actually he wasn't. The first king over the Jews with all 12 tribes together out of Egypt was Moses. He was the king in Jeshurun. So it's still about who's got authority, who's the king. Now there's this covenant with David. It says, when thy days be fulfilled, and thou shalt sleep with thy fathers, David, I will set up thy seed after thee, which shall proceed out of thy bowels, and I will establish his kingdom. Now this is a dual prophecy. It's talking about both David and Solomon. We find that in Luke chapter 1 and 2 as well. And he shall build a house for my name, and I will establish the throne of his kingdom forever. So that's a prophecy. That's a Davidic covenant, and that's a prophecy with the seed of David is always going to be sitting on that throne. And of course, David is from the tribe of Judah as well. So Jesus Christ is going to come from David, who is from the tribe of Judah, so the scepter won't depart from Judah. And whenever Jesus Christ sits on the throne, it's going to be a fulfillment of this prophecy, as well as many other prophecies that discuss the same issue. Now look what happens. If you remember the middle of our chart where they lose the crown, verse 16 here, it says, the crown is fallen from our head. Babylon comes and takes him into captivity. And in verse 19, thou, O Lord, remainest forever, and thy throne from generation to generation. So of course God's still in charge, but now the manly authority, the people who have authority, the human authority, is changed from the Jewish people to the Babylonians, and the crown fell from their head. Now, ever since the crown fell from their head, they're waiting for the Messiah to come and restore the kingdom to them. They're looking for the restoration of the political kingdom. Here in Daniel chapter 2, this is what happens to Nebuchadnezzar. Daniel tells him, thou art a king of kings. He's interpreting a dream for him. Thou art now notice he's not the king of kings, but he's a king of kings. For God hath given the God of heaven hath given thee a kingdom and power and strength and glory. And wheresoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field and the fowls of heaven hath he given into thine hand, and hath made thee ruler over them all. Thou art this head of gold. Now Daniel is talking to Nebuchadnezzar here, and he's interpreting a dream for him. So if I were to ask a question, who's in charge when this verse comes to pass? And the answer is Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar's in charge because God gives the kingdom over to Nebuchadnezzar's hand. So who's the boss here? Nebuchadnezzar. And that's when this happens right here in the middle. Nebuchadnezzar takes over, and he's the one that gets the dominion over everything in that verse we just read. He hath given thee in thy hand and made thee ruler over them all. And that's this green kingdom right here. So Nebuchadnezzar takes over, and which this develops into, he's one of the 18 types of Antichrist in the Old Testament. And this develops into the full-fledged kingdom of the Antichrist when the Antichrist comes and sets up shop and has all power and signs and lying wonders during the 7-year tribulation period. Now the next thing, look what we saw what just happened to Nebuchadnezzar. God gave him all this stuff. Now look in this verse, Luke 4-5. This is the devil tempting Jesus in the wilderness. And the devil, taking him up into a high mountain, showed unto him all the kingdoms of the world in a moment in time. And the devil said unto him, all this power will I give thee, and the glory of them. Look what he says next. For that is delivered unto me, and to whomsoever I will I give it. Now when did Satan get all that? Satan got all that right there. Right when Daniel said Nebuchadnezzar got it. Nebuchadnezzar is not a man of God. It's a representative of Satan. Now look what Jesus calls Satan. Hereafter I will not talk much with you, for the prince of this world cometh, and hath nothing in me. Now, who's the prince now? It's Satan. John 18:36. Look what Jesus says about the kingdom. Now we know Jesus is going to come set up his kingdom. And look what he says. And we're also going to look at how this verse is commonly misinterpreted. Jesus answered, "My kingdom is not of this world. If my kingdom were of this world, then would my servants fight, that I should not be delivered to the Jews. But now is my kingdom not from hence." And what you hear a lot from modern day Christians is they say, "My kingdom is not of this world." So what they're trying to say is all these kingdom passages in the Old Testament, there's over 500 of them, talking about the kingdom and the throne and Jesus Christ coming to sit on the throne of David. They're trying to say, oh, that's spiritual. His kingdom is not of this world. We should know that. Duh. But actually, his kingdom is of this world, but not, look here at the bottom, but not now. Not now. I want you to pay attention to this phrase. It right here in the middle. If my kingdom were of this world, then what? Then would my servants fight. Pay real close attention to that. If you're following along in your scripture, I would underline that and circle it and write Revelation 19 right next to it. Because when he comes back in Revelation 19, his kingdom is of this world, and his servants do fight. And that's why at the end here he says, "But now is my kingdom not from hence." Because in the future it's going to be from hence. So pay attention to that word now. That's a very important part of the text. 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 4, Paul calls Satan the god of this world, blinding the minds of the people that believe not, lest the light of the glorious gospel of Christ, who is the image of God, should